Master, look this way. Let's go. Under the rug with the Rug Master. To reveal what's hidden. We're live on Under the Rug, let's go! The truth always comes out.
So, I saw the headlines.
Under the Rug covers it all.
Cheers to that.
The wait is over. We're live.
17 years ago, a man sat down, thought carefully about what he wanted his legacy in this league to be, and typed John Madden's Pumpkin Breast into his computer. He is a founding member of this league, which means he has watched every era, every dynasty, and every collapse. Betrayals, bad trades, a man who once argued food stamp policy in a Las Vegas pizza lobby until 3 in the morning. That last one is our guest tonight. 2 championships, a losing record. He is from somewhere, Texas maybe, or possibly both coasts depending on who you ask. He claims to live in Las Vegas, but oddly always has his own luggage whenever he picks someone up from the airport. He is most renowned for a multi-year, tumultuous, and often messy relationship that played out in the public eye, ending in 2019 when he finally released Josh Gordon the way that some people release doves at a wedding, repeatedly, ceremonially, and with no regard for the outcome. After all of that, he finished 7th this season at 7-7, which is the exact center of mediocrity that makes him an ideal guest for our 3rd episode. Not good enough to matter, but not bad enough to be interesting. This is J-Mart. J-Mart, welcome to Under the Rug.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you for calling in. I know it's usually hard to get through. Phone lines do stay tied up.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk legacy. 17 years. You have used the same team name the entire time. Pumpkin Breast. What the fuck does that even mean? And at what point in 2010 did you decide that it was too late to change it without having to admit your team name sounded like a lesbian-themed fall candle sold at Target?
Oh, that would smell great. Yeah, I'm definitely in too deep at this point. I'm just going to let it ride. I was always a big John Madden fan, growing up, Monday Night Football. Pulled up pictures of him to make my team logo. Saw his, big man tits and was doing something off that. 2009, Eastbound and Down was huge. Kenny Power says, I can't talk to you with your tits hanging out like cabbages. And been off of that with a different type of produce. That's going to be it forever.
I would imagine it's difficult to change the branding that's out there. It's not uncommon to go to the grocery store, be it out on the West Coast, the East Coast, seeing a child running around with a jersey of Pumpkin Breast.
Yeah, it's very family oriented. I pull it up on my work computer all the time. I'm never concerned about it.
Is there ever any misunderstandings if someone happens to see that pop up on your phone or on your screen and maybe is not aware?
I mean, my wife has seen it a couple times. She's also heard me berate Yar on Zoom calls and things like that. At this point, she's kind of stopped asking questions and just kind of accepted the chaos for what it is. Other than that, I haven't had any issues with, pop-up blockers, VPNs, or anything really getting flagged.
I was actually curious if you had to enable the adult settings in order to be able to access that original photo for John Madden's Pumpkin Breast.
Yeah, I have no idea, but I'm full go on no privacy settings. So anything on my phone goes.
We started off here talking about legacy. You've been in this league since 2009, a founding father. 2 championships, 1-12, 1-14, all-time record. You have lost more games than you have won, while still maintaining a reputation as a very credible, if not even an elite franchise. How relieved were you after winning your 2nd championship in 2023, 13 years after your first, knowing that would allow you to extend the facade that you're good at this fantasy football thing for plausibly at least another 12, 13 years?
Oh, yeah, very relieved. I mean, for the better part of this league, my whole worry really has just been to have more championships than Yar. Obviously, I don't think he'll ever win one, but you look at 2008, that Fresno State team that won the College World Series, lightning could strike. Once I got that second one, it was pretty much nails in the coffin there. So I'm good.
Is it hard to stay motivated if Yar's that baseline and you've already had one more than him? We're all pretty confident he's never going to achieve that bar. But then when you get a second, that's basically just running a lap around someone who's going around the track in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and that's assuming they even know how to operate the wheelchair.
It's complex.
Yeah, I would say at this point, I'm not very motivated. I think everybody probably knows my general strategy, which is get as drunk as possible for the draft, enjoy the chaos, and then I pretty much just go on autopilot till about Thanksgiving. Whether you're 13-0 or you're 6-7, it just becomes a 3-game season at that point. Why really put in the effort until it matters?
Do you know who the last champion was that had double-digit regular season wins?
Well, it probably wasn't me. I don't know if I've ever even gotten a bye. I'm pretty notorious for either getting in as the 6th seed or just missing as the 7th seed. Double-digit wins, man. I'd probably have to go with Ace. You caught a couple of those Christian McCaffrey season.
2022 Ace went 10-4. There have only been, there's been about 5, it looks like. But when you consider the course of 17 seasons, it's somewhat of a death sentence to go into the playoffs with double-digit wins. Through our pre-episode analysis, we uncovered a very strong rumor that you have not even watched a full college football game in over a decade. Not a Saturday, nothing. Which makes your draft prep less scouting and more kind of like that horny ant, picking Oscar winners based on their hairstyles. We've got Gummy in the league now, using what appears to be that exact same strategy at a little bit higher level of execution. How do you plan to separate yourself?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I really stopped watching college football when I moved to LA. You only get so many Saturdays in your life. I'm not going to really waste mine watching 19-year-olds play football. Gumby came in and he took it pretty serious. I'm less concerned about him, more concerned about Tyson kind of getting a big head, thinking that he really has a good team when he's really just kind of won when everybody's checked out. I might have to try a little bit more because of that. But as you can see with my record, I'm pretty average. I'm going to stay pretty average. But if I sneak into the playoffs, I take it seriously. And I am not the person that you want to play. I don't think I'm going to change my strategy a whole lot. Granted, might help knowing who some of the guys are before the draft. I know Tyson got Tedero McMillan or whatever his name is. I never even
Sebastian Tretola, an offensive lineman for the Razorbacks. I want to talk about Njoku. I think that's how you say his name.
Oh, David Njoku?
You're obviously much more familiar than I am. You drafted him in 2022, 2024, then doubled down again with a 7th rounder last year in 2025. Now keep in mind, this is a man who finished in the top 10 at his position there once, and averages the kind of number that would get a kicker cut from your squad. The Browns finally released him this offseason, last week actually, with a knee injury everyone in this world saw coming, except for the one guy that has been treating him like a sleeper since he came in the league. What specifically about your evaluation process has allowed you to be so wrong about the same person for 3 years? And how do you plan on replacing that 6.2 points per game hole now that security blanket's gone?
You know, he's probably not even the worst one I've had, in terms of blind faith. I know I kept Josh Gordon there for about 3 or 4 years when he didn't even play. But I've always loved Njoku. He's got great athleticism, great after the catch, great dreads too, I'm somebody where I find what I like and I stay with it. I just had hopes that eventually they'd probably feed him a little bit more. Cleveland's always had pretty terrible receivers, usually behind in games. Here we get a lot of targets. But out with the old, in with the new, I know I've got Colston Loveland, who can replace those points and possibly more. Rumor has it that Pops has already been trying to send a few of those first-round picks that he has my way. And I am open to offers. I'm just interested to see where Njoku goes. It's news to me that he's been cut. And, hey, if he gets in a better situation, he might be a pumpkin breast again here in 2026.
Sounds like that you want him to retire a pumpkin breast.
100%. That's my guy.
He loves the helmet.
Guy. Same wife. Don't plan on leaving her. I've had many same friends over time, maintain those relationships. And Njoku's the same way. I'm going to keep him in my life as long as I can. We're going to go for that 3rd championship. One last ride.
Back to episode 1. Gumby described your approach going into the draft as overconfidence, outdated player takes, emotional attachments, and the kind of blind optimism that's usually only found in men who are wiring money to women that they've never met online. Can you clear the air on all this?
Well, I think in terms of the overconfidence, could have been researching for months, or I could have just printed out a draft sheet that morning and you guys would know the difference because I'm still going to bring the heat. It's like a game of beer pong, right? You're trying to beat your opponent. You give them the hope that they have the upper hand and give them the confidence they're going to make more shots. And I know we have some people in this group, I won't name names, besides obviously Pops and Yar, where intimidation works. Pops will fuck up his picks. He will fuck up his roster when you put any sort of pressure on him. He will second guess everything.
Can you elaborate just a little bit on that?
Oh, I'm talking complete and utter warfare in the trenches, eyeball to eyeball. Pops always blinks first. That's just the way it is. If you can just get him second guessing, that is his Achilles heel. If you can get him to reflect and have some sort of doubt that what he did previously is wrong, he will just spiral. Whether that be drafting, setting his roster, you just get in his head a little bit. You just plant that seed and your work is done. His brain will do all the rest. That's my strategy. I don't have to draft the best players. I just have to belittle my opponents.
Very much a differentiator. I want to stay in Vegas. Some unsubstantiated reports. I don't want to call them rumors. They are unconfirmed. After the draft, you and Gumby argued politics, amongst other matters, in a grab-and-go pizza place until 3 in the morning. And it's not a debate that in that room, I presume, smelled like grease, in a town that's known for its bad decisions, that there's two men holding each other hostage next to a rolling hot dog machine for a duration of time that would best be labeled as competitive in a touch-a-truck contest. What happened in there? And why do you think Gumby didn't want to let go once he grabbed on?
Oh, man. Well, I wish I remembered it all. Fortunately, I didn't drink any water that entire day. Joe really fucked us on the water break. Had quite a few of those Mountain Dew Baja Blasts. It's a little fuzzy. We were arguing some politics. Kumi was there. We did call one of Gumby's black friends at one point. And I'm not sure if I can say black on this podcast. A darker fellow. We were getting his take on some...
On the phone?
Yes. And I don't know who this person is or was. Don't know why they picked up. Because, God, if we were calling him at 1, 2 in the morning, it would have been 3 or 4 in the morning their time.
What was the reason or the rationale behind calling this gentleman at 3 in the morning?
I'm not 100% on that. I think we were maybe talking either DEI or reparations. I was actually on the pro reparations to making things right side of the coin. I think Gumby, he just wants to keep things as is and keep capitalism and make as much money as possible off of the less fortunate people in the world. That's how it stemmed. But I got to tell you, I've got a great memory. Little fuzzy on that one.
Makes me wonder what was put in the Baja Blast. I wonder, what was Gumby's thoughts? Not necessarily at the end of that conversation, but on the flight back. It looked to me like he paid first class, sitting up there, VIP, drinking champagne, knowing that he'd just gone out to Vegas, spent I'm not sure how much money, for it all to end debating politics in a grab-and-go pizza that doesn't even sound like he got a slice out of, to get on a flight, go back home, go through the season, and then go through all of that to get one spot away, not even making a dime back.
Oh, yeah. I would say it's irrational exuberance. I mean, hell, he was probably bright-eyed and bushy-tailed having a great time back, given all the sleep that he got during the draft.
He did look well-rested.
Yeah, very much so. The rest of us were pushing through a grueling day of pool, drinking, drafting, and Gumby just had his feet kicked up and let everybody else draft for him. Probably pretty optimistic. When you can take over a team with best keepers in the league, and then you can rely on the other people in the league to draft your team for you while being distracted from drafting their own teams, you got to feel pretty good about it.
Keepers were certainly there, even though, as Tyson put, entirely fucked up the fourth keeper, which he did, Calvin Ridley.
I realized he was playing until your guys' first episode, so that's interesting.
What's also interesting, Gumby was unaware of that until the first episode.
Yeah, no comment on that. Embarrassing.
That's what Tyson said, or at least what we believe he said. Sometimes the dialect was difficult to translate.
In a word, it was like you had shoved a bunch of peanut butter into Lou Holtz's mouth and then kind of held him underwater.
Let's stay on the subject here of the previous episode. And there were some accusations that were made. Our last guest, Tyson, the back-to-back champ, put you on his Bush's Best Mount Rushmore of irrelevance. You're aware, Tyson says a lot of stupid shit. But every now and then, he does accidentally back into the truth, like a drunk guy finding the right hotel room, or maybe just even a rail that he can lean against. What is your response to this man who memorialized you as a non-factor?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, during the regular season, lifetime, I probably have close to a losing record. But ask anybody out there, nobody's going to want to play me in December. I'm comfortably somewhere in the 5 to 7 range, but in terms of top 4 shittiest, I think Carroll obviously has to be on there. Heck, I think Carroll would even tell you he has to be on there. I don't know if Tyson was too drunk and just slipped his mind. He won once a long time ago, but didn't he beat Yar? So that obviously should have an asterisk next to it.
It was the only time in league history the team that won the championship didn't have a winning record or even a break-even record going in the playoffs, 6-7.
6-7. It's got to be Carroll. Case closed.
While we're talking about poor performances, I don't have to probably tell you the name. We pulled the phone records, the social timelines, the mutuals, old pictures, and nothing. There is absolutely zero evidence that you even knew Yar existed before this league. No friendships, no blood feud, no stolen woman, no family land disputes. As far as we can tell, your entire relationship began with the Yahoo draft results. So how do you end up hating a man that much? Best described as mirroring the create a player mode default settings on NBA 2K6. Adjusted for the height, of course.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word hate. I would say I'm just a man of my word. I keep my promises. I remember the original scenario. Yar drew first blood. Be honest, I think the early days was really more you and Pops giving Yar shit. I didn't really know him. And frankly, when I saw him, I was like, this is the guy I'm going to be playing against. I'm not worried about that. Second year in the league, obviously Pops took advantage of everybody the first year. But, second year in the league, I knew what I was doing. And I played Yar in the semis. Very key matchup. And I remember it like it was yesterday. As we've established, I have a pretty good memory. Early on in the league, I had the Niners trio of Frank Gore, Michael Crabtree, Vernon Davis. And Frank Gore got hurt right before the semis, and Yar had a higher waiver than me. He probably limp-dicked his way into the playoffs. And he got the current backup, Brian Westbrook, on waivers. And the Niners played the Thursday night game, and it was terrible. I think Vernon Davis had one catch. I had no Frank Gore, and I know Crabtree was terrible, but really into the game, Brian Westbrook got a meaningless rushing touchdown. And Yar decided to text me, something to celebrate that. I texted him back, you'll regret this and I'll be in your asshole till the end of the days on this earth. And we all know what happened. I came back to win. I won my first championship. That was the origination of the night before Christmas and everything being silent at Yar's house. And I've kept my promise ever since. I've never forgotten to celebrate Yar's whenever possible.
For a lot of the newer members, they know that Yar's a douche, but they don't necessarily know some of the things that the original founders had to go through. It's no secret that you have been lobbying for an all Sigma Nu league for years. Very exclusive, very selective, and on paper it sounds like tradition. Why exactly does league purity matter so much to you? And did you steal the entire Nazi playbook for this proposal, or was it only just parts of it?
Yeah, can't say I've read that. But, I just wanted a pure-blooded Sigma Nu league. This is not anything against Yar. This is not us trying to put a fence up. But, there are certain things that we all experience in the house. There are secret chapters. There are blood oaths. There are things that have been discussed, secret handshakes, things that are all kept among just us members. I guess I was just looking for an extension of that. Carry on the good old days and be able to speak of those things without fear of someone on the outside hearing them. I just don't understand how, with a couple hundred guys in the fraternity, we couldn't just find one more for the draft. Clearly, the bar wasn't very high if we had Carrick and Gammon in there. Why couldn't we just get one more? I don't know. In Yar's defense, I will say he is one hell of a beer bitch. When the day comes,
better than
we
Will,
right our wrongs and we get a pure Sigma Nu league, I think we should try to keep him around in that kind of specific servitude capacity.
If we could have got one more, and you had your pick of anybody, who would it be?
Ooh, boy, that's a loaded question. Do you go with someone who's going to try? Do you go with someone that's going to really merge into the chaos? Well, I would say it would probably have to be Spicer. He will fit in perfectly with the, kind of the irrelevance of Yar, but be a little bit better of a fighter, a better shit talker. He got too high to be with Carroll on his big brother night. I think that's some much needed bonding that Carroll never got to experience. I unfortunately had to fill in as both Taylor Francis's big brother and Carroll's kind of step big brother that evening.
Do you think that could be some of the reasonings of Carroll's, dare I say, emotional fallout since 2010?
Yeah. I mean, daddy issues could be a way you could word it. Just this lack of strong male leadership in his life.
Fortunately, Gumby is in the league now, and he lives in Texas as well. So that could be some strong male leadership nearby, or at least when you're out of town.
Yeah. I mean, multiple males leadership for him.
This show respects primary sources. We've all seen the bid day photos, dozens of them, resurfacing in the group chat every few months, sometimes weeks. What's interesting is that no matter which photo you look at, different pledges, different angles, different moments, there's one constant. In the background of every single one of those, there you are. Not casually present, not observing, you are actively engaged. Holding a funnel, holding beers, sometimes what even appears to be a full fifth of whiskey, either pouring, about to pour, or just laughing like a man who has found his life's purpose. So for our listeners, many of which were present that day, can you clarify for these survivors what exactly was your official role? And more importantly, what was it about pouring excessive amounts of alcohol down the throats of a group of underage boys that brought you that same level of visible joy in every photo?
Oh, man. I don't know if I had an official title. I would say probably just unofficial hype man. I had so much fun at my own bid day. I just wanted to carry on that legacy and pass that on to the young pups beneath us. I'm glad we have some of it documented so it can live on in perpetuity. It was a very selfless joy for me. It really wasn't about myself. It was really about the kids. I didn't really have a lot of beer that day myself. It's not like teaching kids, you can't get fucked up. This is about leadership.
A lot of people talk about it. Not everyone demonstrates it.
Well, obviously you and Ryan Lambert flip and sliding in a mixture of blood, tears, and your own vomit with some Busch Light kind of sprinkled on top. That's a good one. I think of it as kind of one long week because you got the bid day, but you just have kind of pure debauchery that lives on for a couple weeks. And I think we had another party about a week later there. You guys were officially pledges, played some whiskey pong with Carol and sent him to the hospital. It's probably my greatest memory.
That is actually the night that he got his nickname, Stitch.
I'm very proud of that.
When he fell and had this accident, was that someone that was giving 110% and just going above and beyond? Or was it just more of an episode of someone entirely overly intoxicated and who had no idea what the hell they were doing?
Oh, no, it gave me a ton of respect for Carol. It was very heroic of him, actually. There were some beer pong tables set up in the back, and Nick London and myself were just wrecking people, looking for some pledges to play. And Carol and Adam Martin came over, and we told them they had to play with whiskey. We started, and we made all 6 cups before they even shot. Adam Martin, he just kind of disappeared like a little bitch. And Carol said, you know what? I'm not a bitch. I'll chug them all. Who knows? There was probably, I'd say, about a shot and a half in each cup. Babyface Carol, he just took like 9 shots of whiskey just to show us he was a man. It obviously caught up to him about 30, 45 minutes later. In the moment, I was mightily impressed. I don't know the word I'm looking for. It's really just leading by example.
Say what you want about it on the fantasy football side of it. On the beer pong table, he is a champion. Tip of the hat to Carol. Einstein studied physics. Mother Teresa served the poor. And Ron Jeremy performed adult entertainment. You have made it your life's work to remind everyone that Pops has not been relevant since 2012. By September, he should hit roughly 5,000 consecutive days of irrelevance, which is honestly astonishing level of sustained mediocrity. Do you have anything special planned to celebrate that milestone, or will you be attending the small gathering celebrating at the Springdale Golden Corral with Pops, Yar, and presumably a few others in Northwest Arkansas?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I'm pulling it up on my phone here to get the exact date. Yeah, September 2nd, 2026, Pops' 5,000th day. Beautiful. Yeah, get it on your calendars, folks. It's a big one. That's a great question, though. I haven't really thought about the celebration itself yet. He hasn't mattered for so long that the days have just really kind of snuck up on me. And now it's like, do people still even remember he exists? Like, is it even worth celebrating? I don't know. I'll have to think of something. I'll probably, at a minimum, grill out, get drunk, send a bunch of condescending texts out on the group chat, things like that. But if there is something happening at Golden Corral or any other kind of multi-state celebration that we bring the guys in for, I'd love to participate, or even maybe at the draft this year if we could coordinate some sort of emeritus, worst person in the league, emeritus type of trophy for him.
How did you come up with this formula or this algorithm to keep up with this continuous time tracking of Pop's irrelevance?
Oh, pretty easy. I mean, I could teach a master class in stuff. All you have to do is look back at the last year Pop's which was 2012, Christmas Eve, something like that. And all you do is you put that date into Excel, and then you do that plus, and that'll give you the date. I think they call it like a Gregorian date, where it's just a numerical value for every date that's possible throughout history. Yeah, you just take that date, add 5,000 to it, and boom, there's Pops' big date.
You keep talking about Upchurch. Now, some people do think that he is still in the league. Others basically think that he's folklore at this point. As his big brother, what level of a responsibility do you feel that you should take for how far off the map that he's drifted?
Yeah, I was really trying to get him to Cotter 2 years ago, and I thought he was coming. A few weeks before the draft, was driving to Mount Whitney, going to go backpacking for a few days, not have cell service. And I talked to him, or what I believe was him. I don't think AI was good enough then for it not to be him. And we were talking about whether he's going to have a cheap flight or drive with the Dallas guys. And, he was kind of on the fence about it, and told me to call him back, when I was driving back in a few days, and I did, and never heard from him. So, I gave it my best effort on that. But, I think he's probably the only guy in the league with 3 kids, right? So, he's got a pretty busy schedule, and I know these days he's quite the family man. I would say in terms of my responsibility, I mean, yeah, I look in the mirror and I think maybe I was just too good of a big brother. I think it's very possible I was just such a great role model and great influence in his life that he blossomed into a great husband and father, and instead of, continuing to indulge in the chaos of the drafts with us. So, yeah, I will take some responsibility for that. I think, probably just be, guilty of being too great of a male figure in his life.
If anything, hopefully this can serve as a good inspirational story for Carroll for what he could one day achieve if he continues to utilize you as a mentor and also kind of filling in that father figure role.
Yeah, I'm here. I think the first step in someone getting help is they want to be helped. Carroll's got my number, and he can reach out anytime.
I'm certainly confident that he will probably not about this, but maybe he can get inspired if he knew about your greatest strength as a fantasy manager.
Oh boy. Well, I'd say my greatest strength is probably just not really watching the games, not being biased by plays that I'm seeing on the field. You look at how big of a Cowboys fan Joe is, and Carroll is, and Kumi is, and those guys all suck. Joe's out here drafting every Cowboy imaginable, and Pops, shit, I've owned DJ Moore. I've had a bear or two. The team blows, and you can see why Pops tries not to stack up too many of those guys. I would say it's my lack of fandom and lack of attachment. I can cut ties with any player at any time and have no remorse about it. Just looking at the numbers themselves, looking at the matchups themselves, and having no personal attachment to anyone, I can just cut them and move on with my life. That's a pretty good strength.
Now, I will tell you, in some circles, that may be frowned upon a little bit. The emotional detachment, the ability to walk away, is also a very good description for a narcissist. I've seen what the Cowboys have done to Carroll's roster. The Packers have done to yours. You referenced the Bears with Pops. There's a thing behind it. There is. Before Tyson got lucky on these last 2, the Razorbacks, Sebastian Tretola, that one worked out for him because it ended up being a totally different player, but there is definitely a thing to it. There is.
Yeah.
You'd referenced this earlier, something that used to be a staple of the league, and honestly is one of our most impressive traditions. Your annual Christmas poem, taking shots at everyone, but with a very clear and consistent focus on Yar. Year after year, different format, same target. And to your credit, they were very well done. The Long December might be the one where you were at your peak, and it just stopped. For a lot of our listeners, myself included, Christmas morning ever since feels a little bit empty, like something's left out of the stocking. Will we ever get back to this tradition of the league?
Oh, I would love to. I didn't know it was so fondly missed. I think maybe one of the reasons why it phased out a little bit was didn't know if anybody was watching it. So I'm glad to hear you were such a fan. Yeah, like I said, that original Thursday night game, knocking Yar out of the playoffs, that was the night before Christmas. But I had many great songs over the years. Even had almost an entire Christmas album one year. We had, instead of Walking in a Winter Wonderland, we had Walking in a Yar Tears Wonderland, Long December by Counting Crows. There were a lot of them. I think on my old computer that I found many of your bid day photos, I might have a few of them saved if you'd like to do some sort of a holiday collaboration or something, I can maybe get back on here and sing a couple of them.
We would be honored. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and put that in writing right here, right now. VIP for subscribers only. We're going to bring Jay Martin back on here for a Time Life Classics 10-year reunion of the greatest Christmas classics. And we will offer that on CD as well as vinyl to our subscribers.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it already. Oh, boy. Yeah, before I get into that, I did have one more thing I wanted to bring up here. It's just kind of been
Certainly.
on my mind. We always talk about Pops and how irrelevant he's been in all the championships he won early on. I was just curious, has anybody ever seen Pops' birth certificate? Do you know? Do we know that he's in our...
I'm looking in the archives right now. Actually, the interns are shaking their head at me. No, we do not have that documented.
Okay. I was just wondering, I mean, 25 years ago, the whole world thought Danny Almonte was a superstar because he was 14 years old striking out 11-year-olds.
At the time, that was the assumption.
Yeah,
But-
and you look at it in the context of our league, the human brain, specifically the prefrontal cortex, it doesn't fully develop till you're about 25. You kind of zoom out, you look at that initial draft. Most of us were, 20, 21? Heck, Upchurch was just barely a young pup at that time. And I don't know, Pops was probably 30, 32, something like
by
that.
our estimates, yes,
So
low to mid-30s.
kind of take it in context, it doesn't look good. It's just kind of a middle-aged man taking advantage of some young boys in a garage.
In all fairness, that is a very simple but accurate description of Pops, is it not?
Yeah, I think it is. I just think I've seen a lot of this, obviously, with the Me Too movement, whatnot. When you have trauma and you have somebody that's taking advantage of you like that, it's very hard for people to speak out. And I'm sure there's many guys in the group that struggle with that, and they're too afraid to speak up. So I'm not afraid. I'm willing to get on here and document it and get it out in the open so that more people can come out and speak about it.
That takes a lot of courage. For clarity, is Pops a victim or is he a culprit in this situation?
Oh, I think he's the culprit, preying on us before we knew what we were doing.
Do you think that Pops has just kind of lost his touch, or is he no longer applicable?
Well, you just start to do the math. He was mid-30s then, and we're in year 17. Geez, he's getting close to retirement. And, you see this with a lot of powerful figures. Rupert Murdoch got a whole media empire, and now he's just a wrinkly old man that can barely walk around, So I think time comes for us all. Everybody has different age curves, I don't know how LeBron James is still doing it, but, many of us mere mortals, we age quicker than him. And I think Pops, it's just hit him a little early. I think he's on the decline. He's trying to hold on to the glory days a little bit, but I think the leg up that he used to have on us is gone. And you can clearly see it.
The data and the numbers certainly don't lie. This could be the start of a conversation, though, of what do we do with these iconic figures that do have a legacy. It's just from a different time, a different place, and maybe it's no longer designed for today's game. I like to think of a good way of approaching this, almost what the PGA Tour had done for so many years, and how they honored these different legends. So they brought out the senior tour, where you'd have someone like Pops, who's obviously well underwater, has no idea what's going on at this point, but you still want to respect the resume.
It is, and I mean, the senior tour, I think that's a great idea. Unfortunately, nobody else in our fraternity is anywhere close to his age, so to try to fill a whole league with that would be tough. I think something kind of like the ceremonial tee-off would be nice. If we can actually get Pops to a draft and not bitch out on it like he normally does. But if we can get him there, maybe let him have that ceremonial first tee-off. Maybe let him put the first sticker on the board, because it's pretty hard to fuck up the first round. I've certainly done it many times, but maybe let him get that first sticker on, and then he could kind of pull a Gumby, kick his feet up, let us kind of take it from there.
A full lifelong legacy, early on of high levels, elite status, definitely mediocrity here at the end, earned nonetheless. I would be remiss if we did not at least give a shout out to someone that I feel you have been the biggest advocate for of all time. You talked about how well Yar did as a beer bitch. Do you want to give a shout out to who I would presume you say is the best of all time, especially when it comes to the stickers? He's someone who did not mess it up on the first go round. Will, this last year, and what a wonderful job he did with those stickers and how much better it was than that son of a bitch Yar previous year.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought him up. hadn't even thought about Will. I kind of forgot he's in the league, but
that's how he's so good at what he does. You don't even know he's there, and that's what the sticker bit should do. You should never even know they're there.
Yeah, you want to watch a game, and you don't want to know that the officials are there, right? Because it's just so smooth, and they're just...
Or maybe you want to take a nap, kind of like the Gumby approach. Either way, you got options. And with Will, you can do that.
Yeah, shout out to Will. I mean, I would say those hot blasties were hitting me pretty hard at that point. So don't have the best memory, but from what I remember, it was fantastic. From understanding the names that Tyson was actually calling out,
Sebastian Tratola,
finding the stickers on the sheets, somehow hearing other people's picks among all of us shouting, and then also just the sticker placement was just perfect. I mean,
very
there's
symmetrical.
something I appreciate about symmetry. It was phenomenal. The booming voice calling out the picks to kind of reiterate to the pussies on the Zoom call who didn't make it to Vegas, to let them know who was actually picked. All around, it was great work, very underrated. Unfortunately, for the people who didn't make it, they weren't there to witness that. So it's all just kind of a fairy tale in their mind.
We could hear the voice. It was articulate, kind of even like Tyson in the last episode, carried, just flowed through the room. The sticker placement was fantastic. How could it not be when you looked at the form that he used? The elbow placement was high, tight. I mean, it was well done. And we can only hope that we get that same experience at the draft this upcoming year. You mentioned pussies. We got two divisions in this league, probably comparable to the legends and leaders in the Big Ten. We have the pussies and the vaginas. Who best represents each of these?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually don't even know. Am I a pussy or a vagina? I don't know what division I'm in. App real quick, but it looks like
in the vagines.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what I thought. I think for pussies, Pops is obviously the clear choice. I mean, it's like every single week that he is making excuses. Oh, I knew I should have played that guy, blah, 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 blah. Or, you could have your entire team on bye, on IR. Pops is at full strength, not a single bye. And he's like, oh, I know I'm going to lose this week, blah, 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 blah. It's just real pussy behavior. That's an easy one. I think for my division, I think everyone's going to expect me to say Yar, and, that makes sense. But I'm going to go with Tyson. He works in sports. He watches college football every day that's on, pays more attention than anyone I know. And he actually knows who these rookies are before draft day, whereas you got me pretty checked out. Carroll doesn't care.
He was actively at the NFL Combine this year.
Yeah, I mean, the other people in the league, it's like Kumi hasn't shit solid in over a year. So he's obviously got more to worry about than fantasy. And yet for 15 years, Tyson was bottom of the barrel. Barely had any relevance in the league whatsoever. Some of the worst seasons we've seen from anybody in the league. He finally wins something, thinks he's the greatest of all time. Maybe it's more delusion than it is being a vagina, but I'd say he'd definitely be my choice.
Glad for him to finally get some hardware. On the last episode, he seemed a little bit upset that he didn't get one of those dry handies tossed out on the first episode from Gumby.
Yeah, I thought I got snubbed on that as well, but I went back and listened, and Gumby did give me a dry handy for my...
Gumby was throwing out dry handies everywhere.
Yeah, a lowest point total of all time this year. I had like 40 points. I was very excited by that, and I appreciate the dry handy. It felt great. It felt great to get one.
Well, nothing like getting one from the original, the OG dry handy distributor himself, Gumby. The name Sacco Joe. Tell me, where did this come from? What does that mean to you?
In terms of the name itself, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, I mean, I think it fits. And I don't really get how Joe sucks so bad. Like, he's one of the people who pays attention to football the most. He always knows whatever 16 and 17-year-olds have already committed to play at Arkansas. So how has he gotten last in our league so many times? I don't know. I don't get it, but it really is quite impressive, and I think we should celebrate it.
J-Mart, give you the opportunity. Give us your take, any grievances you want to get off your chest, anything you want to air out.
Yeah. I had some thoughts for everyone. Yeah, Gumby, you're 6'11" and you weigh 90 pounds. Actual Gumby has a better body than you. Boom, roasted. Joe, I couldn't decide between a Sacco joke and a Willie Snead joke. Boom, roasted. Carol, your teeth called. Your breath stinks. Boom, roasted. Pops, you crush your wife during sex and your heart sucks. Boom, roasted. Will, I thought you replaced Sherm, but you really just took his spot on the side of the milk carton. Boom, roasted. Upchurch, I'm sorry you can never beat me in the playoffs. Sucks to suck. Boom, roasted. Tyson, now that we're all almost 40 and nobody really gives a shit, congrats on finally winning something. Boom, roasted. Ace, if it wasn't for McCaffrey, you'd probably be the most irrelevant of the entire bunch. And didn't even think of you on this whole podcast. Boom, roasted. Human, like 70% of the pictures I found from y'all's bid day are of you sliding your own vomit. So got plenty of blackmail for the future. Boom, roasted. Kumi, was glad to see you in Vegas to know you're still alive and in the league. Boom, roasted. And you just fucking suck. So enough said. Boom, roasted.
So that was episode 3. A man who, by every available metric, should not be this confident, walked in here tonight and left more confident. We're not sure what to do with that. J-Mart is, at his core, a man who aced the exam hungover, won the beer pong tournament drunk, and has spent the back half of his 30s trying to convince a fantasy football league that this is a skill set. And the truly frightening part, he's not entirely wrong. He moved to Las Vegas, the city that professionally separates intelligent people from their money, using math that they already understand. He's an engineer. He knows the math. He does not care about the math. Somewhere tonight, in a grab-and-go pizza establishment that has seen things, Gumby is still wrong about something, and J-Mart is still on the phone. He just doesn't know who with. In 40 years, someone in this league, probably not Yar, because Yar will not still have figured out the login, will put up the all-time records, and they will see 2 championships. They will see 17 seasons. They will see a man who showed up every single year without being asked, without improvising his process, and without once questioning whether the process needs improving. And they will think, now there was a man who knew something the rest of us didn't. They will be wrong, but they will think it. Next episode's guest has been in this league for 17 years. He's never won a championship, but that hasn't stopped J-Mart for wanting to name a trophy after him. I'd imagine he's not going to take that well, but we are looking forward to asking him questions. This has been Under the Rug. And whatever is happening in that Las Vegas pizza lobby right now, we want no part of it.
Oh my God, I couldn't understand half of, the first question you asked Tyson was just mumbling, and then there was this long pause, and then he was like, yeah, next question. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be rough.